Welcome to Wednesday evenings. Up next, we got Dustin's Vinyl with your host, Jeffrey Paul, and music from Anthony Kapfer.
Play us in, Anthony.
Hey.
That's what this show should be. I am not Dustin Chafin. No, man. I am Jeffrey Paul. Dustin is flying back to LA from New York. So hopefully he'll at some point be able to join us today. If not, you know how getting your luggages and also coming back. I wonder if he experienced any delays because we're experiencing a lot of bad weather out here. So I wonder if he got off in time and everything. So, we wish Dustin safe travels. And I got to see him in New York for a little bit last Monday over at the comic strip. And it really felt like going back in time because, it felt like pre-pandemic, seeing Dustin there. And I stuck around and watched his set and his new stuff, man. Have you heard it, Anthony?
I heard some stuff on his Thursday Zoom show right here on ComedyHub. I've heard him working out some of the new stuff. I love it. I think it's great. Yeah,
it was great, like in front of a live audience. It's a great set when he goes up or a comic goes up and the time goes by so fast. You're like, holy smoke, it's over already. Now he did great. Like his new stuff is edgy and he takes like a lot of risks. I was like sitting there going like, man, that's my friend. I was like real proud, man. Like I was like, holy shit, man. Like Dustin has not lost anything off the fastball at all.
That's why you look so happy in the photo of you guys together.
Yes, it wasn't because he was hanging out with me. He just got off stage and murdered.
You were thinking about his material the whole time.
Speaking of people who are traveling, Anthony is not at his usual confines. Anthony, where are you?
I'm in downtown LA right now. I was hoping you'd be able to see out the window, but wait, there it is.
There you go.
I'm in LA doing some shows and hanging out.
Yeah, people are listening to this live. So if you're on the West Coast and you're listening to this in LA, Anthony, you're tonight at the Haha Cafe in North Hollywood on Lancashire, right?
Yes, at 8 p.m. tonight.
Yeah, that's a great room, man. Yeah. I wish you a lot of luck on that.
Yeah, hopefully it goes well. What?
How long you been out there?
I got here on Friday. So what is that? 5 days or 6 days or something?
Yeah, something.
And then I'm here till Sunday morning. Saturday, I'm at Flappers Comedy Club.
Oh, nice.
So see how that goes.
Oh, we'll check out our buddy Anthony Kapfer. Let me tell you a little bit about my weekend before we start talking music. I don't know if you've ever done this type of show before, but Saturday, I got booked at a nudist resort.
How was that?
Well, I did 45 minutes at a nudist resort. Okay. It sounds better in theory than it does kind of like in actuality. It's a lot like socialism. It sounds good on paper, but it doesn't really work out at the end.
Is the audience naked for this?
The audience is naked.
And are they wearing masks?
No, they're not wearing masks. They are naked. They're very, very free and very, very open. And they're very willing to just sit there and be naked and scratch and high five and do shit that people do, naked, stand there with a beer, naked. It was such a weird setup because it was outdoors, but it was raining. The performers were under like a covering, but like the people were still hanging out naked because you're not getting your clothes wet. Okay.
Yeah.
They're naked. Some people are in the pool. It would stop raining. It would be a little bit overcast. It was, the thing is, it's like, you think like there must have been at least 100 some odd people hang around. You think one of them, like on a scale of 1 to 10, would have like maybe gone past like a 3? You know, it never quite reached that level. And so I do my time, I do my set, and you know, it went fine. It was good. They
were you naked?
Come on, Anthony, I'm not getting naked. If this was me maybe 20 years ago, when I was like in shape, you know, and you know, I don't even know if I have an ab now. You know,
not even one ab line.
One. No, and like I think if I was naked, I think like my tits would be bigger than some of the people in the audience. I couldn't get naked. I didn't have to get naked. That was the first question I asked. But everyone else in the audience was naked. So I do my time, right? And as I go, I'm about to leave. I'm walking out because there was another comedian. This was like an all-day comedy show too. This show ran from 12 to 4.
Oh, that's too long.
You think?
Yeah.
Outside by a pool, people naked. Okay.
What happens if they get sunburn on their genitals? There
wasn't sun. It was overcast. So people were feeling more free, more unencumbered. And
so if you got nervous during the set, did you picture the audience wearing clothes?
Do you know how many people made that comment or joke? I refused to make that joke. No, I didn't. But what I did do at one point during my set, I said, "Look, I got to stop for a second." I go, "Sir," your penis is distracting me. You know, it's such a nice cock. I go, "I think it's winking at me." Yeah, it's like you had like 70-year-old women with like raisin tits. You know, it was everything like you could like imagine it would be. So I'm trying to leave, right? I was watching a little bit of the comic after me, and then I was like, okay, yeah, I have to get back to Brooklyn. I was doing a block party. This was my Saturday, okay, working a nudist colony, okay, and then working a block party. All right, this is the glamorous life of a comedian. So as I'm leaving, a woman comes, you know, grabs me, and she's like, "Hey, you know, I just want to tell you were really funny." I was like, "Oh, thank you." She goes, "I enjoyed your set." She goes, "In your set, you mentioned that you were married. Is that part true?" And I was like, yeah. I go, "It's true." She goes, "Does it mean that you're married right now?" Okay, here's the part of the story I didn't tell you, Anthony. On a scale of 1 to 10, this woman was a -6. and that was it. The only good thing, it paid well, and now I have a story out of it. And you know, it was the first time I had ever done a nudist colony. Have you ever done anything like that?
No, I've never done a nudist. I did an underwear show one time in Pittsburgh.
When you were in New York, were you like a guy who hung out at the creek in the cave?
Not really. I mean, I have hung out there, but that wasn't like one of my go-to spots. Yeah,
because remember they used to do a naked show.
Oh, the naked, yeah. I never went to any of those.
No, I never understood the reason for it.
No.
So
no, I only did I did this underwear thing just kind of by accident because I was doing a festival in Pittsburgh, and I was just at that show. It was just one of the shows on the festival. And I was just hanging out, and they're like, "You want to do it?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." And I think I was in my underwear, and then I wore a blazer.
Were you wearing tighty whities?
No, boxer briefs.
There you go. All right, so that's what's up. That's what you do. One last thing about this before we start talking music. So while doing crowd work, you know, you start to get to know these people, and there are two types of nudists. You have people who just wanted to be naked and were enjoy being nude, and then you had another group that was swingers, and the swingers and the nude enthusiasts really don't get along because the nude enthusiasts think like, you know, they kind of look down on the swingers. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but that kind of makes sense. But how did the swingers feel about the enthusiasts? Do they even care, or they're just too busy having fun?
No, they want him to swing.
So they don't even think about the other group.
No, because I'm talking to the audience. I'm trying to do like a little bit of crowd work while I'm song. I'm trying to do like some material. I want, I got to get something out of this, right? So I'm doing like, and listen, after a while, like how much nude shit can you actually do? These people deserve to be entertained. So, we start treating it like a real show, which it was. So I'm doing some crowd work. I just wanted to get to know them, want to know who's married. And so this people raise their hand and like, where's your husband? And, and she points to the guy next to her, but she's in the arms of another guy who's kind of like rubbing her arms, rubbing her breasts. This guy's, got his hand on this other woman's knee. It was just like it was kind of like a weird scene because they were interesting people to talk to and very, very nice and very, very candid. But at the same time, you don't want to, alienate everybody else in the crowd. And they're really spread out too.
They were spread out.
So to speak. On that note, since you're bouncing a little bit early, let's do the random poll. And since this is an unconventional show, we have an unconventional random poll.
Yeah, I pulled this T-shirt that has the artwork for the first Devo album. Are We Not Men? We Are Devo. So that's that'll be one of the polls, I guess.
Yeah. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I know that is late 70s. I'm not sure if that album came out in 76 or 78, which I think 78 is like the golden year of music of album. That came out in 78?
I think it did. So something somewhere around there, because it's got kind of early punk influence and early new wave. It's not as new wave as all their other stuff. It has a little bit more kind of 70s punk influence.
Yeah. I always think without this group, you don't have groups like Radiohead and maybe even Kraftwerk or who I think is more almost like a contemporary of them. But they, if you remember on this album, this was the album that spawned the cover of Satisfaction.
Yes.
Right. And it was a
Track
really,
2.
And it was a really very like different version of Satisfaction.
Yeah. I mean, it's unrecognizable really, except for the lyrics.
Exactly.
Everything is different. The groove is changed. The melody, I mean, there's almost kind of no melody. It kind of awkwardly fits over this kind of odd, this odd beat that they have. That one is a little more. That's kind of more new wave than some of the other tracks.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of. Do you remember that in the 90s there was a band called Cake, and they did a version of "I Will Survive" where they completely changed the arrangement. Yeah,
he just kind of talks through most of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's similar, a similar approach that Devo took.
Yeah. And the other song I remember that came off of this was Jocko Homo, which a lot of people just know as Are We Not Men? We Are Devo, Devo, right?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's one of my favorite Devo songs. That's pretty classic. They're telling you who they are. You know, gotta have that.
And then the album after that wound up being like, I think their mainstream album with Whip It and, whatever other song, I haven't listened to Devo in years. But when I saw that shirt, I was like, oh my God, that brought me back to being like a real little kid. And, I remember seeing these guys like on TV. They were on Saturday Night Live. And they were just like, man, it was like they were different. They were weird. You remember, I've never seen anything like this before. But, they were completely enjoyable and made you want to like seek them out when I got a little bit older. And I always enjoyed them.
Yeah, they're great. When they did Saturday Night Live, were they wearing like those yellow kind of hazmat kind of suits?
Yes, they were wearing that, but they weren't wearing the like the planters on their head.
Oh yeah, that was before.
That came out after, right?
That was I think that was just for the Whip It video, and then it became their kind of trademark.
Right. But I remember they were all guys, they all look like guys who probably like worked IT, they didn't look like rock stars. They had glasses. I remember thinking, look, these nerds. And then they come out and they were just like so confident and so committed to like their characters and their bit. And like, didn't they have like names like Bob 1, Bob 2?
Oh yeah, I think they did actually. Which makes sense because they all dress the same. So it kind of goes with the kind of uniform thing, which I guess was popular, like similar to the Ramones taking the last name Ramone.
Right. And none of them were actually Ramone. And, everyone knows, what's his name? Joey Ramone was like as Jewish can be.
Jeffrey Hyman, I think was his name.
Jeffrey Hyman that's exactly what his name was. Very good. Yeah, so that's a cool show. Now, where do you get like do you usually wear like a Devo shirt or like that's a shirt that you just don't see people wear a lot.
Yeah, I got this. I forget where I was on tour in 2019, and I was going to a lot of record shops and just buying. I might have gotten this at Amoeba. In Hollywood, potentially.
It looks great, man, and it's a great album. And folks, really who are listening, pick up the first Devo album. It's really worth a listen. You could really hear their influence in a lot of later years music. They're a band that, I don't know if they're quite appreciated. I don't think they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Well, they should. Underrated, I'd say.
Underrated. They are underrated. I think anyone who is like a taste, who started a style, started something, and have influenced generations of musicians and culture and pop. I think, I think that's really super important. And, again, can you name anyone who was like Devo before Devo?
No.
Exactly.
I can't.
Right. Like they're unique. They were different. And that is a very, very cool album. So check out the first Devo album. All right. So we got you for
what's fun? Yeah. It's funny too. I was wearing this shirt doing a show a while back, and this somebody like in their early 20s thought that this guy was Matt Damon. They were like, why do you have Matt Damon on your shirt?
It looks like a young Matt Damon, yes. It looks like Matt Damon if he was trying to be Jude Law in The Talented Mr. Ripley.
That's good. Anyway, that's all. That's the last thing I wanted to say about it.
Okay. So, Ant, why don't you? I feel like Dustin tonight. I wish I was wearing a Stenson and had some. Okay. Why don't you bring in the our comedy album before I start talking classic rock?
So we're talking about Weird Al Yankovic's Mandatory Fun album, which came out in 2014, I believe. 2014.
That's the man right there.
There he is. Everywhere I go, people tell me that I look like him, no matter what kind of haircut I have. Or
you're better looking than Weird Al Yankovic. Come on.
He's a good-looking guy.
He is a good-looking guy, and he was a super nice guy when I met him.
Oh, you met him? He seems like he would be nice.
This is an autographed picture that he signed to me.
Oh, nice. Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It says from one funny guy to another.
Oh, nice. How did he know you were funny?
He looked at me.
So this is potentially it's the last like traditional album that Weird Al will make.
Why is that?
Right when this came out, he said he was more interested in doing kind of singles and, just being able to release parodies more quickly rather than having to do a whole collection all at once. And I think that was the end of his contract. I forget whatever label he's on, Warner Brothers or something. It was like the last album he had to do under the contract. So that's why he's done like a bunch of singles. He did the Hamilton polka, and he did some other stuff since this came out, but he hasn't done like a collection all at once.
This was I know this came out in 2014, and I also know this was his 14th studio album. 14 studio albums of Weird Al Yankovic. I remember, again, around listening to the Devo years when that came out. I remember.
Oh, Dare to Be Stupid. Yeah.
No, but I remember when it had to be like in the 70s. And again, I'm a little kid and I'm in my room and I have an FM radio. And I remember listening on Sunday night. Do you remember Dr. Demento?
Yeah.
And Dr. Demento show, and you would listen, and Weird Al Yankovic was on that all the time. And that's where I remember him.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, how did this wind up becoming like a thing? But did you so the album that we're talking about is Weird Al Yankovic's Mandatory Fun. Did you like it?
I do like it. It's not my favorite of his albums, but there's a lot of really fun stuff on there, like Foil, which is the Lord song?
Yeah, Lord Royals parody. I love that.
Yeah, the song is great. The video is one of my favorite of his videos, just because of the misdirection. Like at the end, it just gets so bizarre, and I just didn't expect it the first time I heard it.
It's like I listened to a lot of this album while I was in the gym, right? While I'm working out, and I'm listening. And when you brought up Foil, I started laughing because I'm thinking, like, I'm listening to it. It's so stupid, but I'm laughing because it's so funny, and like putting it towards that song, like that's fucking genius.
It's one of his better parodies, I think.
Agreed. What else did you like?
I always like his polkas. This was a good. Yeah, it's pretty well done. I think my favorite of his is my favorite of his polkas is the one from the Bad Hair Day, which was, I think, alternative polka, just because that has like all the songs that I grew up listening to. But this one was great.
Yeah, I think on this one, he had That's What I Call Polka, and I think that's what I call. Yeah, and like it's like all these songs like what was that? Foster the People was on that, and it's all done like in polka style, and like you listen to this stuff, and like he don't change the words or anything. It's just like, I guess, music from like 2010, 2012, in that right around that time frame, and he's just playing it polka style, and again, it's funny. It works. Great. It's funny, he can sing. Yeah. I
like his voice. I think if he made serious music, I would like it just as much.
He on this one too, and a song that I liked Inactive. And I think the lyrics were really funny, and it was a parody of Imagine Dragons' Radioactive. And, and the thing is, I hate Imagine Dragons, and I hate,
I don't like them either.
I don't like them. Okay, finally we agree on something. Okay, I don't like them. I never liked the song Radioactive, and I thought his parody Inactive is better than the original.
Yeah, I don't even know if I know that particular song, so I'll agree that it's better. I I think I gotta jump off now. I think if that's cool, if you want to take it from here.
I will take it from here. Anthony, folks, catch Anthony Kapfer tonight at Haha Cafe. He's going to be in LA through Friday. He's definitely worth checking out. He's a great act. And yeah, thanks for coming on. This becomes the Jeffrey Paul Dustin Vinyl solo
the Jeffrey
show.
Paul hour.
Yes, as my dog is sitting right by me.
All right. See you later.
Right. Do good, Anthony.
Thank you.
Okay. So just a couple of other things about this album that I liked, and I'll tell you a couple of things. I always like to say what I don't like as well. You would think after I don't know, after a year and a half of doing stuff on Zoom and on the computer, I would figure out like where the camera is on this thing, and I haven't done that. So I love Tacky. Tacky was also a great track off of Weird Al Yankovic's Mandatory Fun. It's a parody of Pharrell Williams' Happy. And it's like really funny lyrics of him describing like all things that are cheap and tacky. You could imagine. Things I didn't like about it. Okay. Before we get into our classic album of the night, I didn't really like a song called Mission Statement. It was a parody of Crosby, Stills, and Nash's Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. I thought it was a weird choice to kind of like put on this album, especially when there were a lot more contemporary stuff at the time. And then he kind of followed that up. I think it was the closing track on the album was Jackson Park Express, which was kind of like in the vein of a Cat Stevens song. And if I remember correctly, he had during an interview he had once given, he had talked about how he was really into Cat Stevens at the time. He was into Foo Fighters at the time, and there's a song on this that is kind of style. It's not a parody of any Foo Fighters song, but he wrote it in a Foo Fighters way. Those songs I didn't particularly care for, but the songs I thought were clever, like Anthony had said originally, I think when he does the polka stuff, it is always killer. It always works. It's always great. I thought Foil, I have to agree. I think it was kind of like the standout for me. I loved it. It hooked me in. I believe that's the second song on the album. I also liked Word Crimes. It's a great. It was a great parody of Blurred Lines, the Robin Thicke hit from a few summers ago. I thought that was really good and really clever, and again, great lyrics. And you listen to it, and the thing is, when you listen to a Weird Al Yankovic album, it's a very easy listen. The songs aren't too long. Most of them already because you know the tunes, you know the melodies, and it's very, very easy to get into. Jay, if anybody on wrote any type of comments or anything, if you want to just put them over in the chat, let me know. What do people think of Weird Al Yankovic? Do you like him? Is he hacky? What do you guys think? I love him. I think he's great. I did get to meet him a couple of times when I would do concerts and was touring. And he would come backstage sometimes. And he was a really, really nice guy and a good guy to kind of get to know. So,
hey Jeff, we had a comment from Mad Dabbing. He said that that he hasn't listened to this album yet, but he's definitely going to check it out because he liked all of Weird Al stuff growing up.
Yeah, Matt. His stuff growing up was great, and I don't know how old you are, Matt, but for me, I almost kind of feel like I grew up on Weird Al Yankovic. His music has always been there. I remember one time I was traveling for comedy. I was in Florida. I was doing something down in the Florida Keys, and had a Weird Al Yankovic CD, and it just makes the ride go by so quick. It puts you in a great mood. Like, you can't listen to this music these songs and not feel really good. You know, you laugh. And the thing is, if you don't like it, you know, this, like I said, the songs are short. But yeah, Matt, you should absolutely check this out. It's called Weird Al Yankovic, Mandatory Fun. And like I said, it's his 14th studio album. And like Anthony said, this looks like it's probably going to be the last of his full-length LPs. Okay, and now I think all we have to look forward to is him putting things out on digital. And social media. Okay, sorry about that, folks. I was looking to see if Adam was going to check in or if Dustin was coming in, but not yet. And if they do, that would be. I would love to hear from them. If not, hopefully they're getting to where they have to get to safely. All right, so let's switch directions a little bit here, and this would be like the Jeff poll. And what we're going to talk about today is when we talk about a classic album for me. Okay, this is going to be the second album from the heavy metal band or the hard rock band, however you want to categorize them, Skid Row, and the album is called "Slave to the Grind." It has Skid Row has an interesting history, but before we get into that, let's just some comments about the album before we break down the tracks. It's the first heavy metal album to chart at number one on the Billboard 200. The album went double platinum. Their first album came out in 1989. This album came out 2 years later in 91. And it's important for me to mention that because we'll get into why. But it's important for you guys to know that this is their second album that came out in June of 91. And if you're not familiar with the band is Sebastian Bach on vocals, who, if we were to be doing on this show a top 5 singers of all time list, Sebastian would be on that list for me. I mean, he's just that talented and that incredible, and he's really everything a rock star should be, man. Sebastian Bach, when this band broke out, was the rock star. He was incredible, had everything. Another guy in the band is Dave Snake Sabo. And here's the thing with Skid Row, and sometimes why other bands really had a hard time with Skid Row or resented Skid Row. This band comes from Jersey, except for Sebastian. Sebastian Bach is a Canadian. Dave Snake Sabo lived in, I believe it was Sayreville, New Jersey. And he was high school friends, I think even before high school friends, with John Bon Jovi. And the way they became friends was, I think Dave was walking home from school, saw John Bon Jovi playing basketball by himself, and they just started playing basketball together. And they wound up, becoming friends from that day on. And as they got older, they both had an appreciation of music, especially hard rock music, playing the guitar. And they were like best friends. As they got older, and they always kind of said whoever makes it, would help the other one out. I think what people forget sometimes is Dave Sabo was in Bon Jovi for a small amount of time. And I remember when I was a kid, like a high school kid, we would go, you'd go like to rock clubs and stuff. We'd go like the big clubs that were like the Fountain Casino in New Jersey, the Factory, which later became Snoopy's in Staten Island, the Rock Palace, L'Amour's, obviously in Brooklyn, and you use your fake ID to get in. But I remember there was a place, and I think it was called Rogers or Rogies, something like that. and it was a small place, like a little bit better than a dive bar. And I remember seeing Bon Jovi playing at that bar, and I'm almost positive Snake Sabo was in the band at that time, because Bon Jovi really starts to make it a little bit bigger, and they really become more of a unit when Richie joins the band, because Richie's a little bit older, he's a little bit more accomplished, he had played before, just like Tico did as well, and he could sing, he had the look and everything, and Dave knew that it was the right fit for Bon Jovi, and it wasn't going to work. But John Bon Jovi had always said, that if we make it before you do, we'll take care of you. And John Bon Jovi, to his word, kept that promise, because when Bon Jovi made it, Skid Row was just coming out, and they brought them on the road. They had them open. Their A&R guy took them under their wing. They got signed because of Bon Jovi, and that's why I think other bands kind of resented it. But other members in the band were Scotty Hill, who's also a guitar player, Rachel Bolan, who's one of the principal songwriters, along with Dave Snake Sabo, and then Rob Affuso on drums. When they recorded Slave to the Grind, a young Lars Ulrich, of Metallica fame, was hanging out while they were recording. Now, Skid Row's first album did better than anyone thought it was going to be, and it was a killer album. It spawned hits like 18 in Life, Youth Gone Wild, which became like a real anthem type song. I Remember You. These were big hits. I Remember You was a big radio hit. 18 Life was a big hit on MTV. And again, with the look of the band, with the look of Sebastian, they were immediately successful. So when they went into the studio to record the second album, when they were recording the song Monkey Business, which we'll talk about in a little bit, Lars Ulrich referred to Sebastian's voice as a raw. And if you've never heard Sebastian Bach sing, this guy is beyond heavy metal, he's beyond rock. He appeared on Broadway in Jekyll and Hyde. He has a great, powerful voice. When you look at this guy, you would never think he had that type of voice. And the thing is, I wish we were able to play snippets of music, because he was just so freaking powerful. He was so good. You need to hear it. And also as a comedian, he had a sense of humor, because he would have this great voice. And then after he was done, after they did their appearance on Saturday Night Live, he would be like, thank you. He did in this little nerdy voice. But people really thought that this group was going to be a one-hit wonder, that that they had really exhausted everything on the first album, that Bon Jovi got them the record deal, and that was going to be it. Wrong. Slave to the Grind is a phenomenal album. It's heavier, it's more mature, it's a deeper record. And from the first track, from the opening track, that they're not fucking around. They mean business. The opening track is a Monkey Business. And if you watch the video, you can. Jay, can you hear me? Did we freeze up?
I hear you. You froze, but I can still hear you fine. So.
Okay, I'm sorry, folks. By the way, Jay, any more comments from people before we go on?
Happy Misgive said that she thinks the very first album is her favorite album, and didn't care for this one as much, but it's not a bad album. It just isn't her favorite.
Okay, I kind of get that. I think the first album is a little more poppy. I think songs like Youth Gone Wild and 18 in Life, especially 18 in Life, are very, very poppy. This is a heavy, heavy album, like Monkey Business. It opens up with Sebastian's trademark scream. Okay, it really starts with just like a few chord lines, 4 hits on the cowbell, and then it's that raw, that energy, that power. Okay, like a scream like you never heard. The best way I can kind of describe the arrangement. There we go. We're back. The only best way I can kind of describe the arrangement of the song. Think Guns N' Roses' Paradise City, but harder. And the reason why I also bring that up, and that came to mind, was, again, this album came out in 91. They opened for Guns N' Roses on Guns N' Roses 91 tour and were blowing them off the stage, every night. And you can see that, again, on YouTube. All you got to do is put in, Skid Row, Monkey Business, or anything, Skid Row 91, and you could see highlights or full performances from that tour. There's one in particular in Wembley in London where, they're just phenomenal. But there's also other great songs on this album. But for me, Monkey Business is maybe my favorite, if not my favorite, is Quicksand Jesus. I guess you can kind of categorize it as a power ballad. There was a Wasted Time, which was the radio play, but this is easily the better song. This song, again, it highlights Sebastian's scream at the end. I think this song alone is worth the price of the album. So between Monkey Business and Quicksand Jesus, already, this is a killer album. And then you got, in a row, you had Monkey Business, you had Slave to the Grind, which is a great, great, heavy, hard rock song. You have The Threat, which is a great song, great riff, catchy chorus. Then you had a song called Psycho Love, which I really, really always enjoyed. This is where Rachel Bolan, the bass player, this is where he really kind of stands out. It's a great, fast-paced rocker. Has a little bit of a Motley vibe to it, but only much, much better vocals. Okay, you hear the old cliche that someone could sing the song, the telephone book, if you guys even remember what a telephone book is, okay? Someone could sing this telephone book and it still would sound great. That's Sebastian Bach. It is just really, I really can't emphasize enough how good of a singer this guy is. And then you had another kind of like a fun, vulgar track called Get the Fuck Out. And today, who knows if that song would even be released or would have to be hidden. It's just like a good ass-kicking rock song. And, again, it shows their sense of humor as well. They just didn't take them, they just weren't over the top serious, but these guys can play, they can rock. Let's talk a little bit before we wrap this up. Let's talk a little bit about who their contemporaries are, because when you look at like the heavy metal scene, or I hate referring to it as hair metal because I think it really kind of like devalues these bands, because on another show that I host, I get to interview a lot of these musicians, and because it's the music that I love, and you just don't, you forget how accomplished players they really are. And just to kind of categorize it as hair metal, I think it's almost like an insult. So I don't really like using that phrase too much. But on the West Coast, you had bands like you had bands like Motley Crue who had come out later on. You had bands like Slaughter, who wound up playing a lot out west. Poison, who originally came from Pennsylvania, grew up on the Sunset Strip, but out here on the East Coast, before Skid Row, you had Bon Jovi, which was they're good commercial rock. You had Cinderella, which was great, more of like bluesy rockers. I think you had a band like Trickster, who kind of like appealed more to like, the junior high school 13-year-old crowd. But Skid Row was different. And I don't like to categorize them, even though there's that common thread, with Bon Jovi. They are nothing like Bon Jovi. They are straight up, right to the gut, hard rock. And if you remember at the beginning when I started this, about maybe 15, 20 minutes ago, I mentioned that this album came out in 91. And this album should have really catapulted Skid Row to another level. Like, really, they were destined for bigger things. But the problem was, again, 91, it started to become the beginning of the grunge scene. And people don't realize how fast, once grunge, started to really become mainstream, once Smells Like Teen Spirit started getting regular rotation on MTV, and people don't remember how influential MTV was back in the day before they started playing like, every, around the clock episodes of Ridiculousness. All right. They played music, and their music really, getting on MTV could make or break a band. And it made, your Pearl Jam, and it made Nirvana, and it made Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and that whole grunge sound, but it killed that heavy rock. So by that time, and when I say killed it, you would have what would happen, like Skid Row had, right after the while they were on the Guns N' Roses tour, they were really murdering it, and they were taken off the tour and wound up doing a headline tour of their own. And you're going from playing places like out here in New Jersey, the Brendan Byrne Arena at the time, or they would have played a place like Jones Beach. So you're talking about anywhere from 10 to 15,000 seats. And then now you're going to play in smaller theaters, maybe 2,000. I mean, and it happened very, very quickly. The end of the metal era. Another interesting thing was, and I think this is kind of an interesting story, is that Nirvana was supposed to open for Skid Row in 91. But Sebastian had got caught up in some controversy. And that controversy was, I don't know if you've ever seen like a can of Raid. Raid is like an insect killer. And it was, the slogan was Raid kills bugs dead. Sebastian, during a photo shoot, wore a shirt, in the same style of the Raid can. It said AIDS kills fags dead. And he got himself caught up in a whole bunch of controversy with that. Sponsors started to pull out, started to disassociate themselves with Skid Row. And Kurt Cobain was like, we're not going to open for these homophobes. And, Sebastian tried to backtrack, but, the damage was already done. But not to take away from the music, Skid Row's Slave to the Grind is really... It's nice to watch the maturation of a band from the first album to what they became. And like, people did not have high expectations for this second record. And in my opinion, I think the second record is better than the first. Again, I think it's a deeper record. I don't think there is a filler track on it. I think the hit single on it, which was "Wasted Time," is probably my least favorite of the songs. To me, when you talk about desert island tunes, Monkey Business and Quicksand Jesus, are right up there for me. So, Jay, any other comments?
Yeah, let's see. We've got, sorry, it takes me a second to unmute sometimes.
No worries.
Let's see here. We've got Matcha Sig responding to you, talking about how some of the newer videos on MTV kind of stole away some of the momentum they had. He said video did kill the radio star, although, they really weren't radio stars. They were doing their own videos by that point anyway. It wasn't the early 80s, it was the early 90s.
That's right.
And then another one was he got canceled. They just didn't call it that back then.
You know what? That's a great point. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he did get canceled. Yeah, I wish I had sent you a picture. I would love for you guys to see. I don't know if everybody out there knows Sebastian Bach or what he looked like, but man, again, this guy was a rock star. He had everything. He was a great looking guy, and he had this hair and the talent to back it up. I think if Skid Row had come out 5 years earlier, they probably would have been a much bigger band. They may have, it would have been interesting to see what they would have evolved in. Could they have been Metallica, or could they have been like a Motley? They were, to me, like unapologetic. They would come out wearing the black leather, and they didn't wear makeup. They weren't like that with Motley or Poison or Twisted Sister. They weren't that. They were just hard rock, to punch to the stomach, Jersey guys who came out and just played this incredible music.
It seems like a lot of the chat know Sebastian more from being on the Trailer Park Boys than they do from a lot of his music. They know Skid Row's music, but then they know him more personality-wise from his stint on the Trailer Park Boys TV show. It's a Canadian TV show.
Okay. I was going to say, I've never even heard of the Trailer Park Boys. I'll have to check it out. He was in it on, later on, I think, on VH1. He was part, and I don't know if any of our listeners are kind of getting this, if they saw this. Do you guys remember he was on something called Supergroup? And you had Scott Ian from Anthrax. I have a picture of him back here. He was part of it. Ted Nugent was part of it, and Sebastian was part of it. So he was kind of like in this like reality show where you took like these musicians with over the top personalities, threw them in a house, and they had to put together a set list, make a band, and then play a concert. That was like the premise of the show. So I wonder if people remember him from that as well. He also
Full-Time Doorman had a slight correction. He said, yeah, I think this was in response to the makeup. He says, yes, they did. Rachel Bolan wore makeup.
Well, he had like long hair. I don't remember him in makeup. I really don't. You guys can go back again, check it out on YouTube. I mean, I was talking to Dustin, I guess it was last Monday. We were at the comic strip together, and I told him, it's like when we do this, I always wind up spending hours going down these wormholes, watching performances, listening to cover versions of these songs, looking for as many different versions of the songs as possible. And I don't remember him. If he wore makeup, it wasn't as prominent as Motley and some of the other bands, and Twisted Sister in particularly. And if you look at Sebastian, man, he didn't wear any makeup. He didn't have to. I mean, he was just like an incredible looking dude, man. But again, in every sense of the word, Guy was a rock star. And, that's what a rock star was Sebastian Bach. But yeah, whoever said that before, that's a great point. He was canceled before the term canceling, came about. Very, very true. Very, very true. Anything else there, Jay, before we wrap this baby up?
I think that's about it so far.
Okay. All right. So hopefully Dustin got back all right. And I know Adam's kind of busy. So Adam usually talks about the new music on this show. I thought he would have a shot at joining us. The only thing that I know that's coming, I'm looking forward to that's coming out, is the new Maiden album. I heard some of it this past week, and again, they are phenomenal. I love this music. Maiden, and I make no bones about it. They are my favorite band. Them and Black Sabbath. But I mean, it's just so ridiculous how this band can just with the incarnation they have now with Bruce Dickinson as lead singer, how they can go from the early 80s to 2021 and still consistently make incredible music. So, maybe we'll talk about the new Maiden album down the road. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for listening, man. Thank you guys for writing in your comments and everything. Really appreciate it. You guys are tremendous. Thank you guys for watching out there on Twitch. Hopefully everybody will be back next week, and that way you don't have to just look at me, trying to figure out where the camera is. And I'm brutal at this, but we do appreciate you checking out Dustin's vinyl. I'm Jeffrey Paul, and we'll catch you next week. Thank you, guys.